To do the tubular bind off, usually you knit a couple of rounds of a couple of tubular rounds. The way you do it is by knitting one stitch and slipping the next one, and then in the next row you alternate and work the first stitch and slip the second one. And how you slip the stitch is dependent on what stitch you're slipping. So the first one, for instance, we knit and then slip the purl one. We slip the purl stitch with yarn in front. Knit, purl, slip the purl stitch with yarn in front. Slip the purl stitch with yarn in front and knit. In the next round, you switch it, and you'll be slipping the knit stitch and purling the purl stitch. In this round, we alternate and do the opposite of what we did before. So we slip the knit stitch with a yarn in back and purl, slip, knit the knit stitch with a yarn in back, purl, slip, purl, slip the knit stitch, purl, slip the knit stitch, and purl. So I finished knitting the tubular rounds, and now I'm gonna do the tubular bind off. And to do that, I cut my yarn tail to be about 2 feet. That's the length that is manageable for me. And then I'm going to place these stitches on 2 needles, and I like to use double pointed needles and bind them off as I go. And when I bind them off, I use the Kitchener stitch. That is what is typically done for tubular bind off. So all the stitches need to be placed on these 2 needles knitwise, which means the loops will be placed like this with the right leg in the front. And I'll place all the knit stitches on one needle and all the purl stitches on the second needle. And remember to place the stitches knitwise. It's actually it's how they are mounted on the needles right now after you work the tubular round. So make sure you don't change how they're placed. And so I got a few stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 18 stitches. Let's make it 20. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 20 stitches, and make sure you always have the purl stitch. Just make sure that you always have even number here. And this is the first thing you do. This is securing the stitch, the very first stitch. Oops. You go in purlwise. Make sure that the yarn doesn't go over the needle and create a unnecessary loop. And then you go knitwise into the purl stitch. And you do it just once at the beginning. And then the rest is the sequence that you will keep repeating, and that will involve 2 stitches in the on this needle and then 2 stitches in the back, and then that pattern just continues. So knitwise, insert knitwise, slip it off, insert purlwise, keep it on the needles, and then reverse that. Insert purlwise, slip it off, insert knitwise, keep it on the needles. And that is the sequence that you will keep doing. Insert knitwise, slip off, insert purlwise, keep. Insert purlwise, slip off, insert knitwise, keep. So the way it goes in my head is knitwise, slip off, purlwise, keep, purlwise, slip off, knitwise, keep. Knitwise, slip off, purlwise, keep, purlwise, slip off, knitwise, keep. And you will continue this way, and you'll start seeing this beautiful round edge. Knitwise, slip off, purlwise, keep, purlwise, slip off, knitwise, keep. When I get to the last two stitches, one stitch on each needle, the last two stitches, I just refill my stitches by just doing as I did before, putting the knit stitches on the first needle and putting the purl stitches on the second, making sure that the stitches are mounted knitwise. And I get about the same number of stitches. So I got a number of stitches that comfortably fits on my double pointed needles. I make sure that I have even number of stitches, and the way you can tell is that you have the purl stitch. So the next stitch that's on your main needle is the knit one. I also noticed that I ran out of yarn. So they're about 6 to 7 inches, and I'm going to leave that and thread more yarn. I think I have, this time I have about 3 feet. 2.5 feet is what I can work comfortably. I think I did more this time so that I could leave a tail here. So I just work like I do normally, making sure I leave about 5 to 6 inches of tail. And I don't do anything with these tails until the very end, when I will be weaving them in invisibly, or try to do it invisibly. And once again, I slip off knitwise, purlwise, keep, and bring it all the way until I have about the size that I need to leave for weaving in later. Purlwise, slip off, knitwise, keep. Okay, so these two tails will be woven in later. Knitwise, slip off, purlwise, keep, purlwise, slip off, knitwise, keep. And this is how I'll continue. Knitwise, slip off, purlwise, keep, purlwise, slip off, knitwise, keep. So these are the last 2 stitches, and I'm just going to finish them the way I would do the Kitchener stitch normally. So insert knitwise, slip off, insert purlwise, slip off, and that's it. And now it's just weaving in that's left.